Let's take a look at another common foul in our game, pass interference. This is another foul where the rule book doesn't give us a whole lot of information. If you take a look at the rule, it basically tells us it is forward pass interference if one eligible receiver interferes with another eligible receiver. That's nice, but it doesn't give us a whole lot of information. The book and the case book do tell us a few things. We do know, as a result of a casebook change from a few years ago, that pass interference must involve contact. We do not have a foul for face guarding anymore. So that is one thing we know from there. We also get some examples of what is not pass interference, and that if there's unavoidable contact between two eligible opponents who are each making a bona fide attempt to play the ball. Think of two players running down the field looking for the ball and their feet get tangled, for example. We also know that a Team A lineman can immediately contact a Team B lineman, and they can stay up to that 2-yard expanded neutral zone, and that's fine. That's not going to be pass interference. Also, even though we don't have an uncatchable rule, if Team B makes contact, which otherwise would be pass interference, but it's clearly away from the direction of the pass, we're not going to have pass interference in that situation. So we know those things. But what do we do when we need to decide if something we see is pass interference? The rule doesn't help us. So just like holding, there are categories we want to take a look at. The first 6 of these categories can apply to the defense and the offense, but it's mostly there for defensive pass interference. It's not playing the ball, playing through the back or playing through the body, a grab and restrict, an arm bar, a cutoff, or a hook and turn. Now, what each of these have in common is there is early contact. This is not a situation where players get there right at the same time or so close to when the ball arrives that we can say it's a bang-bang situation where we just let it go. These are all situations where there is early contact and material restrictions, material effect, advantage, disadvantage in all these situations. So primarily, if you see these actions, these are the categories of defensive pass interference, although it could apply to offense, mostly defense. But there are some categories that apply just to the offense. Creating separation, driving through, blocking downfield, or pick plays. These are ones that will apply only to offensive pass interference. Creating separations, also known as a push-off. This is when a receiver is going down step for step with a defender, and he puts his hand into the defender, extends his arm, and pushes off to create that separation so he can get in space. Driving through a defender who has established a position on the field is a problem, especially because you're pretty much just rolling them over to get a pursuit to the ball. Blocking downfield is similar in that someone is going and taking out a defender by pushing him open and clearing an area of the field for another receiver to come under and catch the ball. A pick play is similar and usually happens on a crossing route where one Team A player will just pick off a defensive in pursuit, and that allows his teammate to run open into a path to catch the ball. Just like holding, if you see these actions, if you see this kind of contact and you're wondering if it's a foul, ask yourselves, does it fall into one of these categories? If it does, it's probably a foul. If you can't put it in one of these categories, it's probably not a foul, and you should let it go. Let's take a look at some play examples. In these videos, we'll take a look at some of the examples of the main 6 categories of pass interference that usually apply to the defense. And we'll start with the first category of not playing the ball. This will be some action to look at against the receiver right here at the bottom of the screen. So you'll see during the play, receiver will shoot down the field, and as the ball is coming to him, he's going to have early contact from the defensive player, warning a defensive pass interference flag. What you'll notice is the defensive player is never looking at the ball. He's not trying to play the ball. He's not trying to disrupt the ball. He's playing the man. He's not playing the ball. And when he does that and makes early contact like this, and early contact that's material and clearly affects the receiver's ability to play the ball, that's pass interference, and it's pass interference in the category of not playing the ball. Second type of category we'll look at is playing through the back. Again, another category that involves early contact. We'll see in this play, close to the goal line, quarterback will throw the pass, and we'll have some early contact by number 26 into the receiver. This is a situation, the receiver may be trying to get to the plate at the same time, but actually comes through the player before the ball is there, materially altering the receiver's ability to catch the ball. This is not a bang-bang situation where the players got there at the same time. 26 gets there early, hard, through the back, or through the body, however you want to say it, early enough to affect the play. So a correct call for defensive pass interference for playing through the back. Next category we'll look at is a hook and turn on the slant run here. And this kind of will be obvious. It's going to be in this area of the field right here. Let's go ahead and take a look. And the inside receiver will, or the outside receiver will slant in, get caught, and get hooked there. The key is just like it sounds. As he tries to get through, we get an arm over the arm of the receiver, around his waist, and actually turns him as the ball is getting there. Now, if this happens after the ball is passed, it's one thing, we can let that go because we can say that hook and turn didn't affect anything. But when it's right before or just right after the ball is getting there, the hook and turn is actually pulling the receiver around. So that's an example of what that looks like. Next category will be an arm bar. Not always easy to see in the way of a restriction, but like we said, the defensive player puts an arm across the receiver's body and just kind of thrusts him back and pulls him away. You can kind of see that here as number 11 gets inside, and the arm is stretched out across, restricting. It's similar to a grab and restrict, but it's just using the one arm to kind of pull and hold him back on his route. Again, it's early contact, a key thing. Moving on to the next type of category, it's a cutoff. And as we said, the defender here literally just tries to cut off the defender from his route by getting in front, making early contact, and riding him out of his path to the ball. It's going to be in this area between these two players right here. And just take a look at the action. Initially, we have good position by the defense. He wants that inside route. But when he turns and actually starts putting his body into the route of the receiver and pushing him back that way and starts riding him off of his path away from the ball, that's a cutoff defensive pass interference. Grab and restrict is one of the ones that's most common to see. This will be up in the top of the screen between these players over here as they're going downfield. And it's just what it sounds like. A player reaches out, gets a grab of the receiver, and just restricts him and never lets him get free, never lets the arm get free. Most of the time it will be on the arm, pulling down, restricting the arm. And here's a key. If you ever see a receiver going up to try to get the ball with just one hand, receivers don't try to make catches with one hand. So if a one-handed receiver is not necessarily a foul, but it certainly deserves your attention because there's a reason he's not getting his other hand up. So when you see those type of actions, just be aware of it and go ahead and process it as you would anything. So those are the main 6 types of pass interference categories that we look at. Again, if you see action and you're wondering, is it interference? First of all, try to put it in one of these categories. If you can put it in one of those categories, ask yourself, is it materially affecting the play? In pass plays, the closer to the ball, the earlier the contact is in time, it probably does. If you can't put the action into one of these categories, it's probably not a foul.